You know Spency Boy got that T on deck, baby. Whoa, milestone. A little downgrade on that right there, okay? Alrighty, what's up, my dudes? Alright, we're gonna go in here and take a look at the terrain deformation, little bit of rut tester. Alright, just to have a little look-ski at it. And Supercross 66666, okay? So, also wanted to talk a little bit more about the gameplay and the game because I know a lot of you guys wait until I come out with my first few videos of this game before you decide whether or not you want to buy the game. There's a lot of people that do that out there, so I'm really trying to get these videos out so that you know what you're getting into with this game because there's a lot of those other YouTubers you can't really trust. Let's just keep it real right now, okay? So, the terrain deformation definitely seems to be a bit of a talking point here with Supercross 6. And the only reason it's even a talking point, or it seems like it's a new feature, or it's something better, or whatever, is only because Milestone has not been giving you the terrain deformation levels that you should have had from the very first Supercross game. That's the only reason we're even talking about it as being anything right now, okay? But if they would have continued their terrain deformation levels from MXGP3 and all the way through all of the Supercross games, this would just be like, it'd be a whole different conversation right now. But because Milestone, for some weird, bizarre-ass reason that I still can't figure out, they basically just took away the terrain deformation after MXGP3. That was the last one that I feel like you could actually physically feel it, like any. But that's the big facade. Milestone thought they were going to be able to get away with just making visual terrain deformation in all of those games after MXGP3. But, you know, Spency Boy too smart for that. But they did fool a lot of people with that because it seems like there was still terrain deformation in the first and second and third Supercross games and all that. And even into like MXGP Pro and 2020 and some shit like that, it seemed like there was terrain deformation. Meanwhile, it was actually pretty much entirely visual. Most of those games, the deformation, it just looks like there's ruts everywhere. You're not really feeling anything, okay? But this was one of the games where I feel like you might actually be able to feel just a little bit, but it's not anything crazy. That's the thing you really got to understand about it. It is not anything crazy, okay? But we're going to take a look here at this. I think this is Oakland right here, and just to keep in mind, this is probably one of the best tracks in the game, like default Supercross tracks, and this is probably one of the best tracks that deforms the best in the game. So don't expect the other tracks to look anything like this as far as the terrain deformation, because this is one of the better ones that I could find as far as, like, you know, the kind of dirt that would actually deform a little bit more, slash you can feel it a little bit more. This was one of them that I feel like was a little bit more on that range, so just keep that in mind. Whoa, we're looking 4 wide on the inside. Oh my God, boys. Okay, so just keep that in mind, though. Like, there's a lot of the other tracks that have a lot worse jumps and more basic jumps than this track right here. Most of the other tracks are not going to even have as good of terrain deformation as this track has right here, so just keep all those things in mind. This is like the best example, the absolute best kind of whatever you expected to get. This game does have a really weird, I still haven't put my Spency Boy finger on it yet, but it's got a really bizarre thing. Sometimes in the corners, the bike will just act like it randomly grabs this like concrete level traction, and the bike tries to like randomly pull away from you, but it feels more like a bug or more like a janky, glitchy kind of physics feeling than it does like a good, you know, skill gapped element to the physics, because it's very random when it does it. As you guys know, if you don't already know, it's almost impossible to actually crash on Supercross 6. but the rare occasion when you do, it basically just feels like a bug. It just feels like a weird, janky MXGP Pro kind of weird, buggy feeling. So here we are, we're probably on like lap 5 right here. You can see the ruts everywhere. It's still not really affecting the gameplay at all. I mean, it's not like, oh God, I can't hit that certain jump now because there's ruts everywhere. Trust me, bro, it's not like that. It is not like that. The only even remotely possible spot I feel like you can even think about separating yourself from somebody else in this game, you know, you would think it would be like the jumps because it's a fucking Supercross game. You would think, you know, there would be like bigger jumps, quads, something you could do to separate yourself jump-wise, or whoops or something. That's not even really where the skill gap or the separation is in this game. The whole entire spot in this game where you would actually separate yourself from a beginner player would just be in the flat corners and basically trying to jump as far inside as you possibly can on the flat corners, slamming on your brakes to try to get the bike to pivot and then getting back on the gas. That's the only spot I can even think about in this entire game. Watch this right here, okay? Let's just try to go around the outside. It's like you can't even hit the triple ends. It's like if you go outside in the corners on 99% of the tracks in this game, it's not like you're going to be able to hit a bigger rhythm because you took the outside line. So then that turns into you're just going to hit the furthest inside, untamed style, massive berm. It's not even a pre-made rut. But my whole point is there's not even really line selection because it's not like, well, if I take the inside, then I'll have to hit a smaller line than what I would be able to hit if I take the outside. It's really not like that. They did a terrible job of balancing that specific aspect of this game where it's like you could hit a bigger jump if you carried more speed around the outside instead of hitting that inside berm. There's just not a whole lot of that at all. It don't matter if you go inside, outside, if you have any speed coming out of the corner. It just really doesn't matter. It don't even matter if you hit the jumps right. You can basically just pull back on the bike and wheelie through the entire rhythm section. Watch this right here. Look at this. I'm pretty much going just as... Dude! This game is such dog shit. Don't listen to those people trying to defend this shit. Did you see what I just did right there? I botched the entire rhythm section, and then I basically just wheelied through the rhythm like it was a whoop section and got through it just as fast as if I would have been hitting the jumps. Oh my God, Milestone. But let's dig into this deformation, no pun intended. Okay, but like, why would I ever hit the outside right here? Why? It's not like the finish line is big enough to even... See like that right there? That's basically a bug. There's something going on with the traction of this game and the feeling of... It's not like you're pure... you know, make a mistake and crashing. It's more like that weird, janky feeling of, oh, I basically never crash, but the rare occasion that I do, it just feels like what the hell is the bike doing? You see that right there? It just pulls away from you for no reason. It's not like I'm steering too hard or I'm doing anything crazy on the bike. But I think what's happening here... This is an interesting point I wanted to make about the deformation. I don't even think you're really feeling the ruts as much as... Look at that right there. That is so bizarre, dude. I can't figure this... What the hell's going on with the physics and the way the bike is reacting to the traction. But I think what's happening here... More so than you're just feeling the terrain deformation. I think what's happening is... When the track starts to get quote-unquote deformed a little bit, I feel like what it's actually doing is it's just changing the traction and it's changing the way the bike is reacting over the dirt. Do you see what I'm saying? So like it's going to have a lot more of a chance of doing that weird little, the bike will just start pulling away from you and you can't do anything about it and it'll just pull you to the ground. It's not really like you're digging in a rut. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a lot different than that. I think it's just basically when the deformation starts to happen, it's changing the way the physics of the bike are reacting to the dirt, and then therefore it'll just have more of a chance of doing that weird little janky ass pull the bike to the side and make you fall off of the bike for no reason. That's what it really feels like. You see how there's a big difference in that and like, oh man, I just hit that rut wrong, or I just got cross-rutted. It's like it's trying to simulate that effect, but it's not like you're really going in the ruts. It's not like you're really feeling the ruts. It's like a facade. It's like it's trying to make it seem like you're feeling the ruts, or make it seem like the bike's trying to pull to a different side or do something weird to try to make it seem like you're feeling the ruts, but the reality is you're really not as much. It's just changing the traction, you know? And that is a very weird thing that I have noticed about this game that people really need to understand about the deformation. I don't even think you're even feeling it really all that much even still. Obviously, it's super visual, like you can see it like crazy, but there's just something weird. There is something weird going on with this game, and I don't even know how to explain it, but it is weird, bro. It is majorly weird, bro. Like, I don't know. It's almost like they took all of that slow, you know, clunky, weird, bizarre, janky kind of physics feeling from those MXGP games after MXGP3. That's kind of what Supercross 6 feels like. It's like almost like an MXGP 2021 in a Supercross game or something like that, and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right. Feels weird. That's what I'm saying. Even with the terrain deformation of this game, it just makes it feel weird. It's not like the kind of deformation you even would have had back in MXGP3. Now I'm starting to think it's not even as good as that. I don't know, just the traction of the bike in this game, it's just got a really weird, like, it's trying to simulate like you're really digging into the dirt, but you're really not. There's like all these bizarre little physics sort of, and like the controller vibration and there's all these weird little things that Milestone has done here with Supercross 6 to try to make it feel more like, you know, kind of simulate more of that realistic on the ground, the bike kind of shaking, kind of trying to make it feel like you're hitting some roughness or you're hitting some ruts, but it's all a facade, bro. Telling you, it's all bullshit. It's not like actually hitting deformation. It's not like actually, see that right there? The bike started to try to slide, almost like it's trying to slide, but it's really just pulling away from you. It's really just doing, it's like it's just changing, almost like when the deformation starts to happen on the track, it's like it's turning the traction more into ice than normal dirt. You know what I mean? It's like it's just changing the traction. Dude, this game, I don't even want to play this shit, dude. That's how I'm just like, I don't even want to play this, bro. Oh, boy. If you really know dirt bike games and you really know deformation and you've spent enough time with games like Reflex and even some of the like newer MX vs. ATV games with those kind of terrain deformations, it's basically what it's doing here is it's when the deformation starts to happen on this track, instead of actually feeling the ruts, like you would expect the dirt to still feel the same, you would expect the bike to still feel the same and react the same, but it's like you're just hitting, you know, dug down terrain, or you're hitting terrain that's like built up a little bit or something like that. That's what you would expect it to do, but that's not what it's doing. It's doing more of this thing where it's like visually making it look like there's deformation everywhere, but then it's just changing the traction of the track, and it's making the bike act like it's trying to slide out more on you, or it's trying to react a little bit different, but it's not because there's actual different terrain. It's because it's they've done something in here where it's making it feel more like ice, or it's making it like it's all of a sudden harder to steer the bike. It's just like randomly it's trying to make it harder to steer the bike to try to simulate like you're going through ruts or you're doing something like that, but it's not actual physical terrain feeling it. Do you see the difference? Do you see what I'm saying? It's a facade. It's bullshit. It's fake. It's not even real terrain deformation, bro. Even at the end of the day, everybody getting all tricked up with Milestone thinking there's real terrain deformation in this game. No, not really. Not really. And it's sad that even at that, I'm saying this is basically the best terrain deformation of any Supercross game because it's just non-existent. It doesn't even do anything in any of the other Supercross games. So, but even still, even with this game, bro, I'm getting to that point where I'm still thinking MXGP 3 has better terrain deformation than this. Still, even still, bro. Oh, this is terrible, Milestone. This is terrible.